Hello and welcome back to Record of the Ear. I'm your host Ryan Lark, and this is a podcast all about me where I shout my opinion to the void about whatever album I'm listening to, because frankly none of my friends want to listen to me babble about it. So here I am on a podcast because that's what you do in the 21st century. You make a podcast about whatever you want to do. This week we have another iteration of the month-long dedication of May to local Kentucky artists. This is week 4. Last week will be the last episode for this small mini-series that I'm doing on local Kentucky artists. Just trying to feature them. Thought it'd be interesting and fun. I've really enjoyed it. Hope you guys are enjoying it too. If you have, please let me know. And right off the bat, maybe I'll just ask you guys to give me if you can just click right there and review the podcast. I would appreciate it so much. 5-star review, please. If you give me less, don't worry. You don't have to give me a review then. But 5 stars would be great. If you'd also like to follow me on Instagram at Record of the Ear Podcast, that is year without the Y. I'd really appreciate it. I have every time I post, I always link the music on Spotify. It's just easier to find music there. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into the episode. This week's Record of the Ear is All of My Love by Senora May, which you may have heard of her. She's probably the most renowned musician, singer that I've talked about yet for local Kentucky artists. A little bit of background on her. I chose her. Not only do I love her, but I also have like a weird personal connection. Her mom is neighbors with my uncle, and neighbors is like not really what you would probably think. They both live in eastern Kentucky, which is obviously rural Appalachia, and they're next door neighbors, which is kind of weird because there's like nobody out there, or at least very not very populated, and kind of weird that they even know each other. It's just odd, but I've also seen Sonora play live a couple times. First time I saw her was absolutely incredible. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I saw her at a house party, like a house concert party. I have a couple of friends who are musicians, and they had, I think, like 3 or 4 of their friends, including Sonora. She was like the quote unquote headliner, I guess, for this house concert. But she was really good, and I've seen her a couple of times since. She's absolutely incredible. She primarily sings folk music, and she's also toured internationally on a solo tour across Europe. Apparently, she's pretty popular in Europe, which is kind of cool. And in a 2018 article, Rolling Stone named her 10 new country artists you need to know. I think country is obviously a very flexible term here because she's not really country. She's obviously more folky, Appalachian type music. But let's go ahead and get into some stats about the album. This is her second album. Did I say the name of it? Yeah, I did say the name of it. All of My Love by Senora May. This is her second album, and it was released on Valentine's Day in 2021, and it's kind of about all the phases of her relationship with her also famous husband, Tyler Childers, who's a famous country artist. And it's kind of, as opposed to her first album, Laneheart, which is her maiden name, this album isn't really about Kentucky or the feeling of home. And it was written all over the world while she was traveling with her husband and without him. And it's kind of just about love. Like, it's the whole album's theme is love, hence releasing on Valentine's Day and being called All of My Love. Um, all of the tracks on here were written by her and Jessica Leah Mayfield, who also produced the album. Um, it's got 8 tracks, 25 minutes long, which is chef's kiss perfect for me. Love it. It is almost teetering on too short of an album for me, but honestly, it's a nice thing to just like put on and listen to, and then I don't know. I mean, like especially for like a short drive, if you want to listen to an album, like you don't want to just listen to like half of something. It's really nice and quick, which is really cool, and so colorful. It's got one single called "Naturally," and like I said, all of these were written by her and Jessica Leah Mayfield, and she's got a couple other people that feature on some of the tracks. But let's go ahead and get into it. Before we do that, though, I just want to remind you to go ahead and listen to the album before we get into the tracks. That way you actually know what I'm talking about, or you can go track by track with me. I think starting in June, I'm going to start putting up 2 podcast episodes per week. It's not going to be 2 different episodes. It's going to be the same episodes, but one version is going to be the quote unquote Spotify version where I'm going to actually start including the actual songs embedded in the episode that you can listen to. And you're going to, if you want that, you'd have to listen to it on Spotify. Otherwise, you're not going to hear this music because that's the platform that it's able to be listened to, like, and include the music without obviously being copywritten and infringing on that. So I'm also going to obviously release just like the plain episode without the music embedded, so anyone else can listen to it on any other platform. But I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it because it's I feel like expecting you all to listen to it beforehand is kind of weird, and it's just easier to flow through it while listening to it, and it'll be more fun, like a radio show almost. But yeah, that'll probably be coming up in June, so expect to see that. And hopefully you won't get confused by it. But let's go ahead and get into the episode. Insert guitar transition noise here. Oh, hello. Now, when I say the words waves, heavy, boat, ship, what word comes to mind? That's right, it's anchor. And what do all those have to do with anchor? Well, absolutely nothing. But what does have to do with anchor is podcast, free, creation. Those are the words that come to mind when I think about an anchor, because Anchor is a free app that lets you download and start your own podcast if you ever want to. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and I'll explain. There's easy creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor then will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other site you want. You can then make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is great for me because I have no listeners. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one single place. That's right. No need to go get an editing software, nothing like that. It's all in one place. It's perfect, easy to use. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. See you there. Insert guitar transition here. The first track on the album is called Intertwined, and it features Chloe Edmonstone and Seth Avett, or Avett, not sure which one. And it's all about not being able to escape someone you know isn't good to you, but you kind of stick with them anyway. And not even really stick, it's just like life keeps making you run into this person and you can't really escape them, like I said. And this song, I mean, wow, what a way to start an album. It's like this eerie, poetic song that's got kind of like a hypnotic feel because she like slides so much into notes, which is kind of like a cool stylistic thing that she does a lot on this song and in general, but specifically on this song, she uses a lot of slides. And the lyrics, I mean, just the lyrics, I mean, true poetry. I mean, this is my favorite line from, or like phrase, whatever you want to say, from the song, and it is just absolutely spectacular. Like, it just blows me away, the lyrics that she's written on this. It's incredible. But this is my favorite phrase. Sign night, now come to me. Watch fire fade to black in our revelry. Like, what? Like, it's just so beautiful, and the way she like sings it just, the whole thing makes sense because the whole message is like kind of like obviously kind of weird and about not being able to escape someone you know isn't good for you, and just the eerie feel of it, the hypnotic feel it's just so cool, and like with these lyrics, it's just so incredible. I just think it's such an incredible song. So for songwriting, I'm going to give it a 10. I think it's written beautifully. The melody is incredible. It's, again, just, it's kind of like a simple melody, but it's very beautiful and executed very well. So for songwriting, I'm going to give it a 10. And for recording, I'm going to give it an 8. The second track on the album is called All of My Love, the title track. And it's about being independent while still being with someone and being there for your lover when they need you and giving yourself to them. And that's like not in a bad way, like in a good way, where it's like you want to do it and you don't feel like obligated to give yourself, and like giving yourself time and emotionally, not like physically, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but still. And this is like a fun, short little track. It's like super short, like less than 2 minutes. The so I guess I'm just to get this out of the way. One thing that annoys me about this song, and it's not even annoying, it's just like off-putting to me, is there. So there's clapping in the song, to like clapping to the beat, and it's obviously more than one person clapping, and I don't know why it always annoys me when there's clapping on songs, but not everyone's on the beat. Like it's it's like a I don't even know, I can't think of the right word, but like a cascade where it's like you can hear the two distinct claps because they're not clapping on the same time at the same time, so it sounds like a little staggered. And I don't know why that just like immediately drew my attention to it, because I was like, why why is one of them off? That's so weird. But aside from that, I really enjoy the song. I think it's a really fun song. Love the message. I think it's such a cool and important message. And she does a great job singing it. It's kind of a simple melody again, but I think like the instrumentals here are so cool. Like the guitar intro, I just love it. And I believe it's her on the guitar. Um, and she did a really good job. It's absolutely incredible. I just it playing the guitar, like I don't know why it's such a common interest instrument, but I just like when some people can play it well or even averagely, I'm just like blown away for some reason, because the just the dexterity to be able to play guitar is just wild to me. Um, but anyways, so the melody I really enjoy. I think she sings it really interestingly. Um, Part of it feels like she's a little, I don't want to say dull because that's not the right word, but it's almost like taken a step back. Like almost sounds like sometimes she's not in the song, but when she starts to go off, and she's singing like that, oh whoa 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 whoa, that's a bad like. Obviously, I can't sing, but like you know what I'm talking about in the song. That's like the those are like the interesting flares for me, but I don't know. For some reason, her vocals sound a little held back to me. But as far as songwriting goes, I'm gonna give it an 8 because I think the song is written really well. It's got a really cool, interesting melody. I think the lyrics are getting really cool here. She's really good at writing lyrics. Melody's simple but effective and interesting enough, and kind of carries the song along. It's kind of like an upbeat ditty almost. But for recording, I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it a 6.5. For some reason, it just sounds a little like not even maybe loopy. I don't know. It just sounds so weird to me. But I'm gonna give it a 6.5 for recording. The next track on the album is called No Sweeter Thing, and this has got to be one of my favorite tracks because it's like this ode to Nina Simone and her love of big brass bands, which it has here. And it's kind of all about passion and making love to someone you're like obsessed with. The instrumentals here are so cool, like absolutely incredible. I love the big brassy sounds and how her voice like melds with them. It's really interesting because her voice really is distinct enough to be heard clearly, even though she's not like belting here, but so distinctly different from the brass sounds that and yet it still melds with it. It's really cool, really interesting. I love the little guitar licks here too. It's just a really cool song, and it's so different from the other tracks in the album. I really like it. So the lyrics here, lyrics here aren't incredibly like profound, but I think they really work, and it's more about the musicality of it than the actual lyrics and the message itself. I mean, it's kind of just a vehicle for her and the band. Um, and it just, I mean, I think it just sounds so cool and interesting, and different from everything else, which I always love. Um, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's so interesting. As far as songwriting goes, I love the melody here. I think the melody, just so interesting. I don't know why I keep saying that. It's just so cool. I really like it. I'm gonna give it an 8 for songwriting, and for recording. I think they did such a good job with it. I'm gonna give it a 8.5. The fourth track on the album is called Naturally, and it also features Jessica Leah Mayfield, the producer and also co writer of the album. And it's kind of all about being grateful for what you have and being grateful that your partner can see it too. I think what's cool is like this, as far as track listing goes here, it kind of continues some of the brassy feel of the previous track, with it kind of taking more of a backseat. So it's kind of like interesting how the it switches to No Sweeter Thing where it's kind of this big brassy feel, and then it like slowly fades out after that track, which is kind of cool and interesting. Naturally is the single from the album, and I think it was a natural choice, but I think it's a very beautiful song, and obviously talks about love in a very interesting and important way. It's important to be grateful for what you have and grateful for your partner who understands and sees it the same way. Um, and it's about like the simplicity of life as well, like being grateful for the simple things and uh, living naturally, I guess. Um, I don't know. I just think it's such a sweet, beautiful song. She's again got that like hypnotic, but in a different feel almost in this song, where it's more of like a happy days and like DAZE here instead of like this eerie kind of like foggy mind kind of feel. I don't know. I think it's really beautiful. I like the breakdown of the melody. I think it's really interesting and fun, kind of switching up the rhythm there. I don't know. I just really like it. So as far as songwriting goes, I'm gonna go ahead and give it as for songwriting an 8, and for recording, I'm gonna give it an 8.5. The fifth track on the album is called Colors, and it also features Jessica Leah Mayfield. And it's kind of about stripping everything in life back to just be and be grateful. Again, featuring that simplicity of life. Um, I don't know why, but whenever I'm listening to this song, I feel like I'm in like a desert almost, like out west in the western U.S. Um, I don't know why. I mean, it's obviously got like a western feel to it. There's like these western guitar notes and like um, oh, what are those called? Like the shakers. They're not maracas. Maybe they're maracas. I don't know. Um, but it's got like these shaky uh, like these shaky notes where it sounds like a rattlesnake almost. And you got the western guitar uh, feel to it. It's just really interesting, and maybe it's about like the colors of the desert, even, and simplicity of that life. I don't know. It's just very interesting, and I really enjoy it. It's a very simple song, and again, not in a bad way. It's just a very stripped back, simple song, which I think makes sense for the message. It's all about being grateful for what you have and stripping everything back, so it makes sense for the song to be stripped back, um, and very simple. So as far as songwriting goes, I think it all works well together. Um, I think the lyrics are very beautiful, but the melody is not my favorite. I think it's a little too simple for my taste. Um, so I'm gonna give it a 7, and for recording, I'm gonna give it a 7 as well. The sixth track on the album is called Love You More, and it's all about being there for someone through difficult times and sticking with them. And this, again, changes up the feel. It's like, kind of like got that more of like a rocky, soft rock feel, laid back rock with that steel guitar. Um, and it's just, I don't know, it's very cool, and again gives you a different feel. I mean, you got that big brassy, almost bluesy feel, on No Sweeter Thing, and then obviously you've got a lot of folk, and I don't know, it's just so cool that she keeps changing up her sound but still sounds the same. Like it still makes sense, and it's still like, oh yeah, no, that's Senora May, but it's just like reinventing yourself on the same album over and over again. It's so interesting. I don't think I've heard such versatility on an album, honestly, in a long time. It's very refreshing. It's very cool. Um, I like it a lot, and she does it obviously very well. So I think I think the melody here is probably the strong suit. I think the um, lyrics are good, but it's not as poetic as like some of our other songs, like "Dogs in Mexico" coming up, and obviously "Intertwined" was incredibly poetic. But it's a beautiful song. And it's a very effective song. Um, so for songwriting, I'm gonna give it a 7, and for recording, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think she sounds especially beautiful here, and I love the guitar on it. The seventh track on the album is called Looking for a Fight, and it also features Jessica Leah Mayfield and Seth Abbott again. And it's about kind of getting drunk and wanting to start up a fight with your partner. Um, and I think again it's back to her kind of folky uh, type of song, but it's like kind of like one of those pokey folky songs that's got that very strong beat with kind of the fun like strings and stuff. Speaking of the strings here, I don't know why. I mean, I think just they sound like incredible. I don't know why. I just love the strings here. And it's not like they sound particularly like unique and different, but I don't know why. I just think it's like the strings on here just sound so cool and add such a cool sound to it. And for some reason work so well for me here as opposed to like hearing it in other songs. I don't know why. Maybe just this past listen I was like, wow, that's like so cool and like I don't know why I'm just like so fixated on it because it's again I don't think they're doing anything like crazy. It just sounds really interesting and really cool and for some reason I'm like fixated on it. But I think she sounds really good here. I think it's a fun song lyrically. Um, it's just it's a thing that a lot like almost everyone can relate to that's been in a relationship is unfortunately wanting to stir up a fight when there's no reason to. Just adding drama for drama's sake. Uh, I just think it makes sense for the album because that is a part of a relationship, unfortunately or fortunately. Like it's just part of it, and to add that is just like so. I mean, it's awesome. It's really cool that she added that. So for songwriting, I know that had nothing to do with songwriting, but lyrically, I think it's really fun and melodically, I think it's fine. Um, but yeah, again, I don't know. I think the lyrics are really funny, even though I don't know if they're meant to be. But I'm gonna give it a 7.5 for songwriting, and for recording, I'm gonna give it an 8. The last track on the album, track number 8, is called "Dogs in Mexico," and it's kind of about remembering, holding on to a memory and remembering it. Um, and remembering the person you shared that memory with when you kind of miss that person, kind of like trying to transport yourself back to that memory. And in this case, it's for her, the dogs of Mexico is that kind of imagery. Like when she was on a trip with, I presume, Tyler Childers, um, and they could hear the dogs of Mexico barking. And it's kind of just, again, this is probably the other most poetic and beautiful song on the album. It evokes so much imagery, like the dogs of Mexico barking. I mean, just constantly like this poetic phrasing, and it works so well here, and it's so beautiful. And I think it's a nice bookend because you have the two most poetic songs first and last. Um, I think it's just so cool. Again, really cool guitar licks here. They're simple but beautiful and really fit with the lyrics for some reason. Um, I don't know. I just think it's really a really spectacular song. Um, yeah, and I think it's again something everyone can relate to, and especially her with them both being musicians and not necessarily playing together, but they're obviously touring apart and not together often. So obviously this is something very personal to her and translates very easily to almost every relationship because most people have to spend at least some time apart from their uh, partner, and missing that person is very universal. So I think it's just such an important and beautiful song. I don't know, I just really like it. So for songwriting, I'm going to give it an 8.5, and recording, I'm going to give it an 8. Okay, so looking at the whole album overall as a cohesive unit, obviously there's a story here, if not a theme, about just love and a relationship, and it kind of the album takes you through the inner workings of the relationship, of a single relationship, gives the whole gambit of emotions from missing that person to fighting with that person to loving that person to being grateful and being passionate and expressing that love to that person. Just the whole gambit of it. Every single emotion, good times, bad times, meh times. So it's just the track listings here. I think there's obviously very important reasons that certain songs were put in that order. Like I said, with the Nina Simone and what was the track after that? No Sweeter Thing, No Sweeter Thing was where it kind of got brassy and naturally kind of faded out that brassiness with the brass in the background, but still there. So I think that was a cool way to do it. Message wise, um, I don't know if necessarily certain messages were the reason that the tracks were listened a certain way. I think it was cool to end with missing that person and like recalling memories. I think it's an interesting choice to put that last to recall memories, almost in a way of ending it where you're still in love with that person, but you miss them, and it leaves you longing, which is an interesting cliffhanger almost for an album, if you could even say that. Albums could do that for some reason. Um, I mean, again, I don't know. I think Dogs in Mexico and Intertwined work as the first and last tracks. But other than that, I'm not entirely sure why she listed these in a certain way. I really want to sit down with someone at some point and talk to them about why they listed their tracks in a certain order. Um, I don't know. I think that's just so interesting. Obviously, I talk about it a lot in my podcast, but I think it changes the whole feel of the album depending on what you list where, and can really send a strong message. So I'd be interested to hear why she actually did do this. Obviously, that you can read some of it by listening to the album, and like glance why she did it, but overall, you don't really know. So yeah, I find that very fascinating. I think the strong suit in this album is her beautiful writing, especially lyrically. Um, the the lyrics are absolutely spectacular. Some of the best poetic lyrics, honestly, I've come across. I think she's just absolutely incredible and has such a great mind for this kind of stuff, evoking such imagery, not losing the audience or the listener by being so abstract. They're like, what is she even talking about? Um, I think it's just such an important skill that she has um, that translates very well. So overall, based on all of that, I'm going to give overall an 8 to the album. Okay, so looking at the averages, the average songwriting score came out to 8. Song recording came out to 7.75, and adding those two up with the overall score of 8 as a cohesive unit comes out to 23.75, which is the number one local Kentucky album so far, but unfortunately does not beat out the overall record of the year, Crimes of Passion, the reigning champion by Pat Benatar. So valiant try, Senora May. You did. It's an incredible album. I absolutely recommend it to everyone. Please go back and listen to it. It's spectacularly beautiful. It's wonderfully put together, and it's just so touching to listen to. I think it's really beautiful. So great job, Sonora. Absolutely love it. As always, I encourage you all to go out and support the artist further than just listening to the album on Spotify. Make sure you go to their website. I'm sure it's probably just like sonoramay.com or something. Just Google Senora May, and I'm sure her website will pop up where you can buy her album, which I believe is also on vinyl as well as CD. Just to reiterate, buying physical copies and merchandise helps out the artist way more than just listening to the song, because unfortunately artists are not paid that much for streaming. So if you could do that, that would be amazing, and you'd be helping out local artists. Um, so yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for listening. Please follow me on Instagram again at Record of the Year Podcast. That is year without the Y. Um, Follow me there. Feel free to reach out if you have any recommendations or opinions that you agreed or disagreed with. Yeah, just let me know. I mean, I'm over here shouting into the void, so if anyone wants to shout back, that would be wonderful. Um, Other than that, again, 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That would help me out a ton. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much if you do that. Um, but other than that, I don't really have anything else. So I will see you all next week with the last week of our May special for featuring Lexington or local Kentucky artists. So until then, see you next week. Have a great one. Bye.